All month long here on Seattle Seahawks. Today, we are battling our Niners channel and that bum Chase Sr. in a sub-battle. And they got a bit of an edge right now. 83 new subscribers compared to 72 here on Seahawks Today. We got to catch up a bit. We want to prove why we have the best fans, not just in the NFC West, but in the entire National Football League. For daily Seahawks content you won't find anywhere else. Sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day. Live shows every week. Anytime the Seahawks make a move, we break it down as it happens. Subscribe now for free. Never miss a moment. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV to subscribe for free today, and let's win this sub-battle. Glad to have you with us here on Seahawks Today. I am the somewhat capable host, Tyler Jones, here, as we are talking surprise trade targets for your Seattle Seahawks, as there's been some interesting rumors spread out there about players on the trade block after the NFL draft. So what I've done is I have gone through the rumors and narrowed down the potential players the Seahawks could make a move for. And I'll say this, with all three of these guys, it shouldn't cost a ton either if the Seahawks do want to make a potential move. So let's get started with Dan Moore, the offensive tackle from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dan Moore, pretty solid football player, if I would say so myself. And I know what some of you may be thinking. Why would the Seahawks need an offensive tackle when you already have Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas? Well, there has been rumblings that have since come out that the Seahawks were very interested in the offensive tackle position in the draft this year, but ultimately it didn't work out the way they wanted to, as the Seahawks remain skeptical about Abe Lucas' status. How is that knee going to hold up going forward? We've seen when Abraham Lucas is healthy, he's just as good, if not better, than his counterpart, Charles Cross, on the other side. But he's had problems staying healthy, and we don't know how long that knee is built to last long term. And then the other possibility, if he is, for all intents and purposes, 100% healthy, I think you could potentially play him at the guard spot there as far as that goes. And then you have some options to work with on the offensive line. If, for whatever reason, Lucas isn't there, Dan Moore is a good alternative for the Seahawks to potentially work with here. A 2021 fourth-round pick out of the cult that is known as Texas A&M that won't let us be called the 12th man anymore. Those cults there in Aggie land. 49 career games played with 49 starts over his career. Made history in Pittsburgh as he became the first Steelers rookie to start at the left tackle spot since the AFL-NFL merger all the way back in 1970. His statistics, let's show you these. Last year wasn't his best season by any means, as he had a PFF grade of near 52, pass block grade of 40, run block grade of 58, allowed 39 hurries and 55 pressures. But overall, I think we've seen more good than bad over the years when it comes to Dan Moore. So here's your Seahawks offensive line right now. As you can see, Cross and Lucas are expected to hold things down, but we'll see. And I would rather start Lucas than I would Laken Tomlinson, personally speaking. So if you did bring in a guy like Dan Moore, maybe you put Lucas on the left guard spot next to Cross. Tomlinson comes off the bench, and then you put Dan Moore starting at right tackle. Maybe that's a possibility here. You got some flexibility you could potentially work with, and I'm not going to give up a whole lot to bring in Dan Moore either. So let's ask you on our pinned comment today, should the Seahawks trade for Dan the Man Moore? There's really only one Dan the Man. That's Dan Miller. He knows who he is. He's probably watching. Let us know. Y for yes, in for no, in the comment section below. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players in any given category. Get the choice of more or less. Maybe you're talking fantasy points. Maybe it's rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, home runs in baseball, birdies in golf, all sorts of different categories to choose from. I'm looking ahead to the start of the NFL season. as I got our guy DK to have more than 1,025.5 receiving yards this season. Lamar Jackson to have more than 3,600.5 passing yards. You could put, get this, folks, $100 on your first deposit. They'll match it with Prize Picks, folks. It's a great deal. Go play for yourself. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for that $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Download Prize Picks today. You'll be glad you did. All right, James Bradberry. Oh, boy. I know this is going to get some reaction. The corner from the Philadelphia Eagles. Holding! Yes, he is that guy. Probably most notably known for the holding call in the Super Bowl a couple years ago that helped the Kansas City Chiefs take home a Super Bowl title. Cry, Eagles, cry on the road to losing games. Shout out James Bradberry. I'll say this. This one probably the most unlikely of these three. But hear me out on this for a second, folks. Bradberry's coming off a down year. Price tag's going to be cheap. And this would allow the Seahawks to keep Devin Witherspoon at the nickel spot where he was really good last year. I know that there's rumblings. Is he going to play nickel? Is he going to play outside? What's it going to be? Well, Bradberry is good enough. Even off a down year, you would feel comfortable with him playing outside corner to Rick Woolen. And there's plenty of skeptics out there about Mike Jackson and Trey Brown, so you won't have to depend on those guys in their spots. So you got flexibility to that point, essentially, with James Bradberry coming to the table and letting Devin Witherspoon continue to do his thing at the nickel spot and be that floater, if you will. Bradberry, we've seen him play at a Pro Bowl level. You go back to 2020, the COVID year, while the rest of the world was, dealing with vaccines and a pandemic and all that. He was a Pro Bowler and a second-team All-Pro that year. Began his career there with Carolina, then went to the Giants and spent the last couple of years with the Philadelphia Eagles there on their defense. And you look at these statistics. Here's what we're talking about, what he's capable of. Although it was a down year for him last year, you go back 2022, 3 interceptions. 2021, 4 interceptions. 2023 interceptions. That could be a nice compliment to Rick Woolen on the other side if you're able to get the version that we saw of him from a couple of years ago. Because if this is the version, hide the women and children, folks, because that was brutal. Damn brutal last year for James Bradberry, allowing nearly 700 yards, 9 touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 109. That's got to improve for this to be worthwhile for Seattle. Because here's a look at the depth chart for the Seahawks. As you can see, Mike Jackson currently holding down the outside corner spot. He took the pay cut, but there's some skeptics about him and Trey Brown if they're really good enough. And then, of course, you bring in Pritchett, you bring in DJ James and all that. We'll just see at this point. Even in Rick's case, I love me some Rick Woolen, but let's be honest with ourselves here. Last year was a bit of a sophomore slump. Rick Woolen didn't play that great, and he struggled to tackle. And so I think you got to consider potential options if Rick has another down year, because if he takes another step back, he's close to getting benched at that point. So James Bradberry, potentially another option to have in your arsenal there. Should the Seahawks trade for James Bradberry? You make the call here on Seahawks Today. T for trade, P for pass. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Last on our list, Bailey Zappe, quarterback for the New England Patriots. Now, hear me out on this here, folks. All right? Before you come for my throat, here's the idea when it comes to Bailey Zappe here. Right now, you only have 2 quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Sam Howell. And I think you ought to consider the emergency number 3 quarterback. Remember, the Seahawks moved on from the UDFA, Chevin Cordero, this past weekend. So they only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster. All right? And if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you're a team that's expected to be a borderline playoff team. Do you really want to risk your potential season on making the postseason or not on if Geno goes down and Sam Howell goes down in the same game, which, I mean, we saw what happened to the Niners a couple years ago in the NFC Championship game. Do you really want to put fate in that situation and not have a third option? Do you really want to have to be in a must-win situation, Week 17, and all of a sudden, I don't know, Noah Fant's playing quarterback is his first name that came to my head. But that's beside the point. But you get the idea. Bailey Zappe's shown enough flashes. I'd be very comfortable if you're going to go with somebody to be your number 3 option. If I'm going to give up a 7th-round pick, yeah, Bailey Zappe makes sense. Former 4th-round pick out of Western Kentucky. 14 career games played with 8 starts. And a 500 record as the starter for the Patriots in the last 2 seasons, and what was just an awful team and an awful situation. I mean, this guy had Matt Patricia as his play caller one year, which, by the way, Matt Patricia, total fraud. The guy has a laminated play sheet and has a pencil up there. Hey, dumbass, you can't use a pencil on a laminated play sheet, but that's another story. And then Bill O'Brien was there last year, but the offensive line was a mess. The skill positions and all that were bad. Nonetheless, Zappe, more than capable of being my number 3. That's fine. You know the statistics. I mean, are they earth-shattering numbers? No, not by any stretch. But good enough, as far as I'm concerned, to be that guy. Because right now you're going with Geno. You got Sam Howell as your 2 guys. It's not a quarterback competition. It's Geno's job. But I don't want to be in a situation where I'm stuck Week 16 or Week 17 and you got nobody to turn to. Zappe, I think it would make a ton of sense for emergency QB in that case. Who's a player the Seahawks should trade for? We've talked about a few different names here. Now it's your turn to make the call here on Seahawks Today. Name me a player, whether somebody we talked about or haven't talked about, weigh in the comments section. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for free. Make sure all your friends subscribe. If you're looking for a late Mother's Day gift, give your mom a free subscription to Seahawks Today. She'll thank you later, and we'll see you next time.